lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. I think
He missed the complete. That is crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Hello and welcome to the American Sim Racing Camping World Truck Series. This is round 11 coming to you from Pocono Raceway in Pennsylvania, live on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Samuel Ryman, and with me in the booth is Richard Losper. Down directing the action is Kevin Brown, and our camera sets are provided by Doug Beard. Richard, this is one of the largest oval circuits on the iRacing service, pretty much in the world, honestly. But I'll tell you what, it's no short of action, especially on the restarts. Tell our viewers a little bit about this racetrack.
Yes, I certainly will. By the way, that's Losper, not lobster.
I apologize.
Okay, so it's not actually an oval. This is the strange part. It is the strangest oval in iRacing, and I suppose anywhere in the world. It's actually a triangular track with only 3 corners, and one of the corners is in fact modeled after the Indianapolis corner, and the other 2 corners have different radiuses as well. So strange track, but quite an interesting one. It's 2.5 miles. They call it a tri-oval. It is very, very tricky in the truck. I have raced the truck here before, Samuel, and I tell you what, the turns, because of the differences, they're not the radius you expect every time. In particular, turn number 3 coming onto the front stretch is very, very tricky. You have to have a very late apex to make it good in there. On this track today, pits strategy no doubt will come into play once again. As always, the restarts here are going to be crazy as they go down a very long straightaway into turn number 1. You can actually pit here if you hurry your pit stop up. You can pit without actually losing a lap, so that will be handy for the guys. And of course, today we're running 30 laps here. And everyone has a fixed setup as usual, so it's going to be very interesting. Back to you.
Yeah, and the fixed setup is certainly going to throw these guys a curveball, considering that the 3 turns are completely different. Some of them might not get off turn 3 very well, and that's going to hurt them, considering how long turn 3 is. You can actually land a pretty big airplane on that front stretch, although I'm pretty sure it's never been attempted. We got about 2 minutes left of qualifying, so let's have a look at our championship standings. Currently it is a Whitson 1-2. Gary Whitson sitting with 402 points. L. Bryce Whitson Jr., who we refer to as Bryce Whitson, 65 points back in second. Tim Johnston third and Jason Christian fourth. Alex Bates fifth. Jordan Harnish is in 6th. He fell from 2nd in the points last week, so I'm going to assume he wasn't at the last race, or if he did, he had a very bad race. Nick Cohan 7th, Jim Foose 8th, David Gibson 9th, and Alan Young in 10th. Now this is round 11 of a 23 round season. 15 rounds make up the race to the chase, and then there will be an 8 race chase at the end. The top 10 drivers in the points will be eligible to race in the chase. So those are the 10 names you just saw right there. But Richard, 2 names that we do not see up there are Derek Cash and Ty Hester, who have proven pretty successful this season, but I guess they have been missing a few races.
Yes, that is true, and I'm looking for their names here in the qualifying list. I don't see either of them there at the moment, so another race that they miss, and that of course will not help their chances to get into the top 10. However, everyone has their eye on the chase rounds, where I guess the real championship is, and if they can still, if it's we're on round 11, so that means there'll be 4 rounds after this. If they come back and have a good race, they could possibly still get into the chase rounds, but I'd have to check their points. Guys that I'm always interested in the series is of course the Whitson cousins. There are a couple of guys like Tim Johnston, who's always up near the front, and Nick Cohan, who is fast but always seems to have a little trouble towards or in the middle of the race and gets involved in some accidents. So we'll be watching a whole bunch of them. At the moment, I noticed that Ricky Harden is topping the qualifying board, so he's doing really well here. He is also not in the top 10, but always when he does make an appearance, he is very good, so look out for him as well.
Yeah, and we mentioned a little bit ago that this is going to be a 30-lap race, but we also talked pit strategy, so let's explain that a little bit. These drivers are limited on how much fuel they can have on their trucks, and Richard, they're going to, as qualifying is just finishing up, they get about half a tank of fuel, which runs you about 15 laps, so who knows, we could even see a bit of a fuel mileage race come into play here.
Yeah, as always, but from my knowledge of this series, and I haven't broadcast one or two races, we have seen a fair number of cautions. So cautions will come into play as well. And in the end, it really comes down to fuel, possibly tires. This track is extremely hard on tires, I believe. So that might be a problem. But we see now Samuel, the pace car, and is on track. And the drivers are forming up behind the pace car, so let's run through the qualifying standings, because qualifying is done now.
Yeah, absolutely. Ricky Hardin, as you mentioned earlier, is on pole position. He was actually able to gain a few more hundredths of a second. He is over a tenth of a second up on points leader Gary Whitson, who will start alongside him. Nick Cohan starts third in the number 21 truck, and then Bryce Whitson will be starting fourth. James Krahula will be starting fifth, and Tim Johnston, my apologies, will be starting in the third row on sixth. John Martin and Daniel Deffler will line up on row 4, and then Jason Christen and Benny Ellison will round out the top 10, Richard.
Yep, and we have a 21 truck field today, so in 11th place, Dan Winter. Look out for him, he's very, very good as well. Sean Music is in 12th place. David Gibson in 13th. Tim Knott in 14th. Jim Foos is in 15th place. John Peters in 16th, Alex Bates in 17th. Watch out for Alex Bates too, very, very useful driver. In 18th place we have Malachi Hamilton, I believe. In 19th place Cody Gibson. 20th and 21st place and 19th place did not post a qualifying time. 20th place is Aaron Kleinhans, and in 21st place Carson Aubé.
Yeah, so naturally, they are starting. I do see their trucks gridded up on the field. That's Cody Gibson 19th, Aaron Kleinhans 20th, and Carson Aubé 21st. So I guess they're just going to want to stay out of trouble. See a couple of empty spots there on the grid looking from the helicam shots, so maybe a couple of trucks pit starting. Not a bad idea, because you're not likely to go a lap down here. Meanwhile, 3 trucks have been given an end-of-line penalty for the start of a race. For whatever reason, Cody Gibson, Benny Ellison, and John Peters. I believe Benny Ellison qualified 10th, John Peters qualified 16th, Cody Gibson did not qualify, he was scheduled 19th on the grid, so not going to hurt them all too much, Richard, but the trucks are rolling here. They're going through turn 1 of the 3 turns, as we say. Each of the 3 turns is a little bit different. Now be getting set to race 30 laps in just a minute.
Yes, indeedy. And I just had a look in the pits there. I do not see any cars in the pits. So unless they haven't set their cars to go yet. But we will see how many cars actually complete the first lap, and then we will know. As you said, coming towards turn 2. Now turn 2 is pretty much the easiest turn on this track. It's almost flat out, just a light braking. You know, you've raced on this track as well in perhaps one of the faster cars, the Gen 6. But turn 2 is pretty easy compared to the other 2. Then there's a shortish drag down towards turn number 3, which is the big one. You've got to stay wide as possible. You've got to then cut in late to take that late apex, and then power down coming out near the wall. look out for lots of trouble in turn number 3, because that's where we will see problems, no doubt. Anyway, the pace car is now negotiating turn 3, so we will have an imminent start, Samuel.
Sean Music, it looks like it's going to start from the pits and he's number 48. Ricky Hardin is on pole position in his number 98. They are now on the very, very, very long front stretch, and watch for some hopeful drivers to make a move. Ricky Hardin is on the gas early. He's going to get a great start here, and the race is underway. Harry Whitson in second place, Nick Cohan filtering into third. It looks like a single file through the top 5 as they go into turn 1, Richard, although we do have James Kuhala looking on Bryce Whitson.
Yeah, I'm having a look from the rear of the field. Everyone clean into turn number 1 and coming out of turn 2 now right at the back. So a nice clean start for everybody. It is a wide track there. Actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 marked lanes on this track. So plenty of space, but amazingly, Samuel, the space runs out pretty quick when you're in the turns.
Yeah, I'm going to say you can go 5 wide down the straights, but I would not recommend it through the corners, especially the tunnel turn, which was a nickname for turn 2. We've actually got 3 wide going down into turn 3 right now. John Peters just picked off a couple of positions and he's number 151. But, as we say, they're all single file or double file by the time they get into the corner. Ricky Hardin started on pole. He leads at the end of lap 1. Gary Whitson going all across the track just to try and keep in his slipstream, Richard. The draft plays huge here. Absolutely.
The draft is very effective, particularly going down that backstretch there, coming up to turn number 2. And I'm watching John Peters here because we do know that John Peters likes to come from behind and actually lead some laps. So he's got some nice clean lines there. The truck in front of him, which is Alex Bates, had a little bit of a moment there coming out of turn 2, but coming out of turn 1, but he got it all gathered back up again. John Peters now looking to try and take that position from him. So all still very, very clean out at the back here, and let's hope it stays that way and we get a lot of green flag laps.
Yeah, for those familiar with how the iRacing incident point system works, if you run off into the grass, you get an incident point. If you hit the wall pretty hard, you get 2. If you hit another car, you get 4. There was a limit in this series at 20 incident points. It's now been reduced to 12 due to an excessive amount of cautions in the last couple of races. So hopefully that will make these drivers race a little bit cleaner, think twice before they make a move. And I see Gary Whitson made a mistake coming out of turn 1. He is going very slow down in the underturn. He's lost about 3 positions there, Richard. There's a battle in front of him. Nick Cohan taking a spot away from James Cahola.
Yes, and Nick Cohan is a little way back, about a half a second, well, less than half a second last time, but certainly he's lost some time. They're coming now into turn number 3. Ricky Harding still leading quite comfortably at this point, but that is not to say he will continue to lead, because things change very, very quickly on this track, in fact, in this series. So at this point in time, Nick Cohen just comfortably going around behind him, James Krahula, and it looks like he is starting to make up some time on Nick Cohen, who indeed is making up some time on Bryce Whitson. So it'll start to get tight in for second, third, and fourth positions in a little while, Nadia.
Yeah, we were just riding on board Tim Johnson there. We actually saw James Kohala in that Pennzoil number 18 truck slide up the track a little bit. But you talk about it changing quickly, Richard. One thing I noticed, Nick Cohan started last lap in 5th place, and because of Gary Whitson's mistake and because of his move on James Kahula, he was able to go from 5th to 3rd in just 1 lap. It might take a little bit more for him to get more than that, although I see Bryce Whitson taking a very wide line through turn 3, so maybe he will catch him for 2nd. But they are now coming across the line to complete lap 4. It takes them a while to click off laps here. It's a 2.5 mile circuit. It takes them about a minute to go around the whole lap. But right now, as I say, Richard, Ricky Hardin still running away with it.
Yes, he is behind him. I'm watching now from Gary Whitson's truck. In front of him, you got Tim Johnston and James Cavola, and in front of them, Nick Cohen. Those guys are in a little bit of a battle. I'm having a look here at Gary Whitson. Unhappy times for him. He's got some damage on the right rear of his truck. He seems to be going okay, but he did tap the wall just then, coming out of turn number 2. So struggling a little bit for grip here, no doubt, is Gary Whitson. But having said that, he is starting to catch those. There are 4 trucks in front of him, and they are starting to battle, as we said would happen as they go down the front stretch. Now the draft will kick in, and Gary Whitson power down, trying to catch up with these guys to be in that battle.
Yeah, and what this battle is that Nick Cohan made a move on Bryce Whitson and has now moved up to second, but Bryce Whitson was stuck in that undesirable high line. He has now lost third position to James Kahula, and he may very well lose fourth to Tim Johnston, although Johnston backs out of it a little bit. But yeah, as you say, Richard, Gary Whitson able to run these guys down while all this is going on. But the driver sitting in the catbird seat right now is Nick Cohan. He has been able to race his way up to the second position. I think he's got a tiny bit of damage on the front of his truck, but it doesn't seem to be hurting him that much.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a look at that in a second. He certainly is running quite well, but he does now have a near spin. Go ahead.
I think that James Kahula hit him. That hurt both of their momentum, and now Bryce Whitson goes up to second.
Well, what happened? Yep, we'll see that on the replay. Nick Cohen had a bit of a bobble. He was struggling for grip, and he got tapped in the rear. He's got some damage now on the rear of his truck. He managed to gather it back in again. In fact, that tap probably helped him as he now touches the wall and gets more damage on the right-hand side of his truck coming out of turn number 1. So there might be a problem there. And am I hearing a caution? I can't say.
Yes. And it is for David Gibson in the number 3 truck. He was running in the 11th position. He has spun. I'm not quite sure why. We're going to see a replay here. He is in that blue... No, he's not. Oh,
well, it's the number 3 truck.
Yeah, he's in the blue number 3 truck. Well, he gets upside down. He gets loose and collects one of the other trucks in the wall there. We're going to go on board for a replay. I'm going to try and find out who that is. Looks like it was Dan Winter, David Gibson, and I'll tell you, was lucky there was Cody Gibson in the number 07 truck. He was able to avoid all of that. But yeah, I'll tell you what, David was lucky to get away and keep running after that one, Richard. He was upside down.
Yes. I'm having a look at his truck right now, and it does look a bit second-hand. I'm not seeing any dents in the roof of the truck, but having said that, he will no doubt be having some problems. Now we are on board with Cody Gibson in the 07, and they've all slowed down. The pace car is out there. Pace car going through turn number 2 right now. So we'll have a few pace laps, and then we'll have another restart. Ricky Harden still in charge of this race, Samuel, but now his handy lead that he had cut back to nothing.
Yeah, and now you've got to begin wondering if they're going to pit or not, because they can certainly not make it to the end on fuel. Their tyres probably certainly aren't as good as when they started the race. But do you really want to risk giving up all that track position if the rest of the field stays out? Could see a bit of pit strategy coming into play right here. They're working their way through the final corner, turn 3, and we'll see who comes into the pits and who doesn't. And it looks like they are all coming down pit road. Unless, oh no, there we go, a couple of drivers deciding to fake. Bryce Whitson stays out, and he is all on his lonesome, Richard.
Yeah, Bryce Whitson's done that before, or it might have been Gary Whitson sitting out there just to lead some laps, and also I think there might be a bonus point for leading a lap, but certainly he feels that his truck is okay. I'm not sure of that strategy. It hasn't worked for him in the past, so I'm not sure whether it will work here. Or the other option that he's got is to pit on the next lap when all the pit lane is clear and he's got a free run into his pit stall, because when all the trucks go in like you've just seen, it can be a bit hairy even getting into your pit stall, and sometimes it's hard to see your lollipop guy, and you end up either overshooting or coming short into your pit stall. So this might be all of the things that's going through Gary's mind, Bryce's mind at this point. But nonetheless, he's behind the pace car and he will be in charge on the restart.
Yeah, and you may have seen that a truck did beat Ricky Hardin off of pit road. That was Malichi Hamilton, who was running at the back of a field. He's got a lot of damage on his truck. He missed his pit stall, so I'm pretty sure he'll be coming in at the end of this lap. I have a feeling this is a time to take a good break, because I have a feeling that Bryce Whitson is committed to staying out at this point. If not, he's going to fall all the way down to the back. And the pace lights are still on, which means we have at least about another 2 minutes under caution. That's how long it takes to do a lap under caution here. So we'll be back after this short break. Hello and welcome back to Pocono. We are going through turn 3 and going by the sign that says what turn 4, L. Bryce Whitson Jr. is in the lead, having been one of 2 trucks that did not pit. Malachi Hamilton decided to stay out, surprisingly enough. He was running 18th before the caution, so we'll see if he's able to keep it up there. Here goes Bryce Whitson, and Malachi does not get a good restart. Ricky Hardin easily goes for the second, and all these trucks, Nick Cohan in that great quick beat truck, going to make it 3 wide under Malachi. That's the number 38 truck of Tim Johnston below him. 3 wide into turn 1, and Nick Cohan's going to try and come out on top. Malachi goes up, almost crashes the wall, and Tim Johnston's going to get away in force while Malachi's kind of just falling back down the high line. Richard, then actually it gets very scary, and there's a spin. They almost all wreck, and now they are wrecking. Jim Foose goes around, Sean Music goes into the wall, and John Peters up onto his wheels goes Sean Music. Who else is in that? There's a lot of trucks. Malachi Hamilton is smoking. Aaron Kleinhans is damaged. That was big.
Yeah, I was just going to say everyone is going far too aggressively on that restart there at the rear of the field, and in the mid-pack is where the accident happened. We'll have to check the replay to see what started it all.
Yeah, at first I thought it was Malachi Hamilton just checking up the field, but then it almost looked like there was actually a truck in front of him that got in the wall. Cody Gibson gets turned by Malachi Hamilton into a wall, and then there's about 3 of them that just try and keep straight, and then what really starts it is Cody Gibson turns left to get out of a wall, and as he does that, he clips the number 2 truck of Jim Foose, and then the track is just blocked and the trucks behind have nowhere to go.
Yeah, that's correct. And at least a couple of the trucks are now smoking. Cody Gibson has elected to stay out. I'm wondering whether the pit lane was actually closed at that point. Malachi Hamilton's still out there. Now Cody Gibson starts to smoke as well from staying out there. He possibly should have pitted when he had the opportunity. But they're going to struggle around and try to get into their pit stall on the next time by. Very, very badly damaged truck in front of him with Cody Gibson. Ugly stuff there. So we are on a caution, and we will see who is left to actually restart the race next time.
Yeah, well, Dan Winter is in the pits with damage, and Jim Foose, and one driver that we did not mention during that wreck, Carson Orbay, has a lot of damage in his number 118 truck. Those are the 3 trucks that are stationary on pit road right now. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot out there, a lot worse for wear. Malachi Hamilton, who was a driver dropping back through the field that kind of contributed to that wreck, he's smoking, so he's probably done for the race. But I'll tell you something else that we're seeing here, as actually we're seeing a few of leaders come down pit road. There's a lot of trucks pitting to get more fuel, or driving on the apron under the caution flag to try and save fuel, because, Richard, if there's another caution or 2, they might be able to make it to the end without pitting again.
Yep, and they are negotiating. They're working now on lap 413, sorry. And I did notice Bryce Whitson, one of those trucks coming down pit road. He has just taken 4 tires. He's probably topped up with fuel. I think by him staying out and getting that extra lap or 2, that strategy might work out very, very well for him right now. Particularly, Samuel, if the other trucks have to come down pit road again for a splash and dash.
Yeah, these trucks that stayed out really have to gamble on there being more cautions. If there isn't, as you say, the drivers who pitted right now are going to be at an advantage. But because of all of this, it does mean that Ricky Hardin, Nick Cohan have moved their way up into the top 2. And running in 3rd place is John Martin, who qualified 7th, so he's starting to get his name up there.
Yes, indeed. Nick Cohan does have some damage on the rear of his truck, but that may not be enough to slow him down. We shall see what happens on the restart. Now, John Martin, Samuel, is not a name that I am familiar with. I certainly am familiar with Bryce Whitson. I do believe Bryce Whitson will be in the box seat here if he can work his way forward from where he is at the moment, which is quite far back from the leaders. But we've seen this sort of thing before, where trucks come from dead last to win races in the series. So being close to the rear of the field is no indication of where you will finish up in the race. A couple of other guys that I'm looking at here. Daniel Defler, not seen him in this series before. He may have raced 1 or 2 races that I haven't broadcast, but Daniel Defler up there, a little bit of damage on his truck as well. Tim Johnston, I'll be looking to see how he progresses. His truck looks pretty good at this stage, and when we restart, we can hopefully see him move forward a bit. So still a lot of racing to happen here on lap 14 at the moment, Samuel. Plenty to go still.
Yeah, one thing that some drivers like to do if their truck or car gets damaged is sit on pit road and get as many repairs as possible before the pace car comes around the final turn, and then they escape pit road and race back around the circuit to catch up with the pace car while having their truck as repaired as possible. There was one point last lap as the pace car was coming through turn 3, there were 7 trucks on pit road getting repairs. I really don't think we can downplay how big that wreck is, Richard. it really has shaken up the field. The trucks who were in front of it were able to escape it, and they might be guaranteed a top 10 finish now, as opposed to the trucks who were behind it kind of had nowhere to go, and they're going to struggle to get a top 10 finish.
Well, that's right. From 15th place onwards, the truck number 3, David Gibson, he is 1 minute and 5 seconds behind at this point in time. So that's pretty close to a complete lap, or even more than a lap at this point in time. But the guys up front, as you say, Ricky Harden in particular, Nick Cohen, they did manage to stay out of trouble, and a bunch of guys behind them as well. Alex Bates, he is Mr. Lucky. I think he's always up near the front, does not win races.
Here come the field out of turn 3, Richard. They're getting ready to restart here. Pacecar truck just pulled off. Ricky Harding gets a good restart. And for the first time this race, the truck that starts second gets a good restart too. That's Nick Cohan. He is trying to get in the slipstream of Ricky Harding already. They have about 10 truck lengths in front of Tim Knott, and a wad of trucks battling for 4th.
Yeah, correct. And looking from the rear of the field at this point in time, all nice and clean. The mid-pack once again going 3 wide. Very, very risky on a restart, but everyone's battling for position. They all go pretty much into single file, excepting in the mid-pack once again where they start battling. I tell you what, this mid-pack loves to charge around 2 or 3 wide. Very risky stuff, Samuel.
It is very risky indeed, and I'm not entirely sure these trucks can all make it to the end without a caution, so maybe there's a few of them hoping that they get into each other. But meanwhile, the top 2 trucks have moved away from the field. Ricky Harding beginning to put a bit of a gap on Nick Cohan. Then we have a battle side by side. Tim Knott on the outside, John Martin in the low side. He's losing out on the slipstream a bit here. Gary Whitson drafting Tim Knott on the high side. Tim not able to pull away in third, but he's overshot the turn, goes up into no man's land where the
3 wide,
are,
this is going to be ugly. 3 wide. Whoa!
Gary Whitson, nice save.
Well, he didn't save it. The truck that was on his outside, I believe that might have been the 87 truck of John Martin. When he was spinning, gave him a little tap on the front, which straightened his truck out. That was a lucky break for him. But really, he had no business trying to go 3 wide into that turn through the middle. That was always going to be, and he's trying to do it again. He's in that middle lane there. He goes 3 wide. This time he gets away with it as the truck of Benny Ellison, I believe, backed out of it. But he's making some very risky moves there, Samuel.
Yeah, he is. He's almost going in like he expects one of the other trucks to chicken out, and when they don't, he ran into a lot of trouble down in turn 1 last time. He kind of slid it through the turn and lost about 10 positions as a consequence, but he was able to straighten out his truck, as you say, with a little bit of help. Not wreck his truck, and he's still going to be able to contend for top 10, maybe even a top 5 finish today, although he is very far back of leaders right now. It looks like these drivers are finally starting to run single file and realise, hey, maybe we were being a bit crazy there. They're single file now, although I see Benny Ellison just overshot the tunnel turn, and he's about to lose 2 spots to Bryce Whitson and Tim Johnston.
And John Martin making some moves there on the inside, coming through turn 3, hopefully trying to get Tim Knott. Now he goes to the preferred line. Tim Knott had a bad exit there in the 141 truck. So John Martin able to get by him, but it's not over yet, as Tim Knott now has the inside line for turn number 1. But Tim Knott backs out of it and gives that place up to John Martin, who now moves himself up to 3rd place. Ahead of him, of course, there is, who is ahead of him? Nick Cohen, and somebody's in the grass, we believe.
Yeah, that's Tim Knott. And he is losing a lot of positions. He is going to fall back to 12th position.
Wow. Just goes to show how easily...
Ricky Harding has made a mistake, and Nick Cohen has just taken the lead. Well,
That's correct.
Go back and see what happened there. Did Ricky Harding... He overshot turn 2 and he got on the brakes. He lightly tapped the wall, but he was right to get on the brakes, because had he not done that, he would have slammed the wall a lot harder. But that does mean he has given up a lead to Nick Cohan.
Yes, Nick Cohan now definitely in the lead position. However, Ricky Harden does have a truck that, from what I can see, is completely whole. No damage anywhere on this truck. As we see Nick Cohan have a little bobble, and that'll give an opportunity to Ricky Harden to try and catch up. Nick Cohan did gather it up again and still leads. He's maintained that gap, so it's not over and done at this point in time. No, Ricky Harden can't make any impression on Nick Cohan at this point in time. He's probably just going to have to settle into that second place, and something else happening. Go ahead.
Gary Whitson was trying to make it 3 wide again, but thought better of it this time, probably because it would have meant going 3 wide with his cousin, Bryce Whitson. He backed out Bryce Whitson and Tim Johnson. Those are the 2 trucks in front of him. But, yeah, they almost went 3 wide there. Gary Whitson trying to work his way up through the field. He knows he's got a fast truck, and he's getting impatient following these guys in front of him. Tim Johnson just lets him go by, and that's going to make it a lot easier for Gary.
Yeah, Gary Whitson is a man on a mission at this point in time. He has been passing trucks steadily, basically intimidating the guys and forcing them to back down. Gary Whitson, of course, is our championship leader, so he has got everything to lose if he can't get up into the podium or better. And he is definitely pushing that truck very hard to try and catch up to the leaders. But at this stage, he's maintaining station. He's trying to get onto the back of Bryce Whitson, his cousin, as you mentioned. Bryce is in 5th place at this point in time. In front of him, Daniel Deffler doing a great job with a damaged truck. So at this point, nice clean racing, and we are on green. So that's all good to see.
Yeah, Benny Ellison just scraped the wall coming out of turn 3 there. You saw the sparks flying in our camera shot we had set up on the wall. He has been falling back. He was up there, I believe, in the top 5 when they restarted. And he is now falling all the way to the back. Tim Johnson also having a bit of trouble. He just got really loose at turn 1. But I want to go back to this battle for the lead, Richard. I know this is a stretch, but do you think Ricky Hardin may have overshot the turn intentionally, so that Nick Cohan could have the lead and he could start drafting off of him and start saving fuel?
Oh, I don't know about that. These guys are not in it to come second. They want to lead, make no mistake. And Ricky Harden, we saw when he was in the lead of the race how he was creating a gap on the second place. But at this point in time, he is definitely catching Nick Cohan, and he comes right up onto his rear right now as they come through turn number 2. A big push through the turn there. Amazing to see when these guys, you can actually see when they were backing off the throttle, Samuel, because you see the flames coming out of the exhaust there.
Yeah, it's a nice little addition iRacing has, certainly very handy. And they are currently working lap 22, which means 8 laps left to go. And yeah, whether it was intentional or not, the fact that Ricky... meanwhile, we just had the big slide by Tim Johnson we saw on TV there. Tim currently running in 7th. That's the very notable Pennzoil yellow truck there of James Kahula behind him in 8th place. Tim Johnson getting loose again, just able to keep it off the wall. And this is beginning to become a pattern, Richard. I don't think that's the first time we've seen him loose, and that's going to cost him a position.
Yeah, Samuel, the guys will tell you that you either love this track or you hate it. And you can see some of the guys that I think are hating this track right now, and Tim Johnson may well be one of those guys. It looks such an easy track, but in fact it is very, very difficult. And Tim Johnson is now fighting, battling with James Kahula for what is the 7th position. So they may well be out of it. Back to the front, we see now Ricky Harden stalking Nick Cohan with something like 7 laps to go. Nick Cohan
and Bryce
running...
Whitson's in the wall. they were all racing together in the pack. Daniel Deffler, Gary Whitson and Bryce Whitson. Bryce Whitson slipped up into the wall and he has just lost positions to Grahula, Johnston, Kristen. He has fallen all the way back to 9th place.
Yeah, we'll watch that again on the replay. Just needs a little touch.
Yeah, no, he was bump drafting Daniel Deffler, and I'm wondering if because of a reduced visibility, he just couldn't see the turn. It's almost like he forgot there was a turn coming up there.
He's still going. He's in 9th place, as you say, behind 3 others who just passed him. So he's got his work cut out once again to try and catch up and regain those positions, which he is catching up with these guys at the moment, coming through turn 2 once again. And he has another little bobble, so tires are coming into play here. With the new tire model, I don't know if we've mentioned this before, is this the first race on the new tire model that's coming out for all cars? If that's the case, all of these guys have to get used to a different behavior from the tires here, Samuel.
Yeah, meanwhile, we're watching this battle for 4th between Daniel Deffler and Gary Whitson. They're going at it ham-and-tons. Actually, we're looking at the battle for the lead now, and Daniel Deffler, I can tell you, is safely in front in 4th position. But meanwhile, these guys are working lap 25, Richard, and I've got to think Ricky Hardin in 2nd place is backing off. He's not making his move on Nick Cohan just yet, but I have a feeling that he's got to do it soon, because if a caution comes out at the next lap, or maybe even this lap, that will end the race. And if a caution ends the race with Nick Cohan in front, there will be nothing Harding can do about it. I have a feeling he's got to start thinking about battling for the lead here soon.
Yeah, and I think you're right there, Samuel. Absolutely, we can't afford another caution, otherwise Nick Cohan wins this one. So I think that Ricky Hardin knows that. He's now closed right up onto the back. He goes to the inside now to make the move. He does get the move made. We know that Nick Cohen always likes to race the outside line and does very well in doing so. And Nick fights back, gets very close to the wall there, but that's nothing unusual, and stays in the lead. Ricky Hardin will have another opportunity to try when they come back around into turn number 3 as he closes up through turn 2 once again. And Nick Cohen defends there and does manage to just keep him out. Now let's watch this turn, Samuel, because this is where he'll make his move.
Yeah, in turn 3, it's, if you can get a good run off of it, you can certainly use a slipstream. That's what he's going to do. Look at that, almost down on the rumble strips there in turn 3. Back end slides a little bit, but he does have a run. He's going to get a run on Nick Cohan. Which way is he going to go? They're both going down towards the inside. And Ricky Harding goes even lower. 183 miles an hour before he hits the brakes into the turn. He's got the inside this time, but just like last time around, Nick Cohan able to get the better run on the high side on the outside. And Ricky Harding is going to have to try again later.
Meanwhile, just behind them, we have a 3-way battle here for that 3rd place. Daniel Deffler in 3rd place. A little bit of a slide. Gary Whitson managed to slip by the truck of John Martin in the number 87, and he's picked up 1 position there. He's got his eyes on Daniel Deffler now. He goes to the inside, charges down out of turn 2, and looks like he might get that 3rd position, which will put him on the podium and probably keep his championship lead safe. But Daniel Deffler decides, no, I'm going to have a piece of this, and gets right down onto the rubble strip, as you just mentioned. Now Gary's on the high side fighting. He does have a little more speed coming out of turn number 3 there, and manages to lead going into turn number 1 once again.
Yeah, Ricky Hardin did not attempt to move entering turn 1 that time. And yellow is out. Nick Cohan has won the race. There's a caution on the speedway, and it is for Bryce Whitson.
Yeah, and that is what Ricky Hardin probably knew was going to happen. He was trying hard to get that position, but kudos to Nick Cohan. Defended very well and worked from the high side, Samuel, to maintain that 1st position. Now the caution is out, not enough laps. They're working 28 at the moment, so not enough laps for the pace car to to finish the pace lap. So this will be the provisional result of the race. Nick Cohen will win. Ricky Harden will come in second place. And Gary Whitson, by the looks of it, Samuel, just passed Daniel Defler before the caution came out, and he's on the podium as well.
Yeah, it looks like Bryce Whitson just slid it too much out of turn 3, tried to save it and got into the wall in doing so, which spun his truck the rest of the way around. Now the only way Nick Cohan will lose is if he doesn't have enough fuel to make it to the end under the pace car. I have a feeling that won't be a problem, but always a possibility. But yeah, no, I'll tell you what, Ricky, at least Ricky Hardin didn't just back out and say, I'll try on the final lap. You know, he can't deny the fact that he attempted to make a pass on Nick Cohan, and I'm sure Nick is very glad that he did attempt to pass on him and he was able to hold him off. That will make him feel like he won the race. Provisionally right now the top 5 is Nick Cohan, Ricky Harding, Gary Whitson, Daniel Defler and John Martin. And yeah, Gary Whitson did very well there, Richard. I thought he was done for. I didn't think he could get in the top 10. This is certainly going to help him out in the points. I mean, he's pretty much locked into the chase anyhow, but you know, this kind of just solidifies it. That was a good race there for him to bounce back to 3rd position.
Yeah, these guys are always near the top, both the Bryce cousins. They got a really good battle from the 66 truck there, Daniel Defler, who certainly showed a lot of pace. John Martin as well in the 87 truck. He was showing some great pace, and these guys took it to the regulars like Tim Johnston. And also James Krahula worked his way back up into 7th place, so a really good race from James as well.
Yeah, they are just starting the final lap now. White flag has just flown. They are on lap 30 of 30. And providing they all make it around with their fuel in the tank and without losing connection, will be Cohan, Hardin, Whitson, Defler and Martin, the top 5 as we aforementioned. And I've got to have a second look at the points here, Richard, and see who else this is going to change up the fortunes of.
Yeah, well, I'm checking on Alex Bates now. He started this race in 5th position in the championship. He's finished in what looks like 9th place, but ahead of him are guys that are not in the top 10 there, with the exception of Tim Johnson. But Tim Johnson was ahead of him anyway in the championship. But guys like Daniel Defler, John Martin, James Krahula, and Jason Kristen was ahead of him. So he will probably stay in that number 5 position there, because Jordan Harnish, which is the other truck or the other driver that could have caught him, was not in this race.
Yeah, but I'll tell you who the big winner is in the points here. It's our race winner, Nick Cohan. He currently sits 7th in the points. This is certainly going to gain him a couple of positions in the points, probably help lock him to make the chase. And also, when he makes the chase, this means he's going to be able to get some bonus points added on, which could help him towards the championship. And judging by the performance we saw of Nick Cohan today, I mean, we didn't really talk much about his performance until he got the win there. I kind of thought he was a top 5 truck. I didn't see him as a race winning truck. He was kind of just hanging out there in 2nd until Ricky Hardin made a mistake. But he certainly showed that he has the pace and he has the consistency that he could certainly be a threat for the championship when this chase begins. And here he comes across the line right now. Checkered flag is in the air. Nick Cohan wins at Pocono Raceway.
Yeah, and make no mistake, Nick Cohan is a top 5 runner normally. The early races of the series, he was constantly near the top. He had some bad luck in some of the races where he was involved in accidents that actually took him out, and that's why he fell back down in the championship standings. But a very, very good driver, so not surprising to see him win one from Ricky Hardin, who's showed some very, very good performances, but he hasn't raced all the races. That's why he's not showing in the top 10. However, back to you, Samuel. It's probably time for us to grab a break now and come back and give all the standings and the points and the driver interview.
Sounds like a good idea. We will be back after this break. Hello and welcome back to Pocono Raceway, where we just saw a decent race here at the Speedway, which was won by Nick Cohan. And let's give you a full rundown of the race order right now. Nick Cohan in the number 21 truck was able to hold off Ricky Hardin in the closing laps, who finished in second position. Points leader Gary Whitson was third, and Daniel Deffler was fourth. John Martin in fifth, Tim Johnston in sixth, James Kahula seventh, Jason Christen in eighth, and Alex Bates and Benny Ellison round out the top 10, Richard. In 11th place is Tim Knott, and then 12th was Dan Winter. Bryce Whitson fell to 13th place after the incident that ended the race. Aaron Kleinhans 14th, Sean Music in 15th. These are all trucks that were involved in that big wreck earlier. David Gibson, who was upside down at one point, finished 16th. Carson Orbay, last truck on the lead lap, in 17th. Jim Foose in 18th, John Peters 19th, and Malaki Hamilton in 20th, all retired from the race, as did Cody Gibson down in 21st. Well, we have our race winner here, Nick Cohan, ready for interview, so let's bring him in and talk to him. Nick Cohan, congratulations on your win today, buddy.
Thank you, Samuel. It was a really fun race out there today.
Yeah, well, my first question is, did you have enough fuel to make it to the end if it had stayed green?
No, I didn't. I was watching as I was going on, and once I got past Ricky, I tried to start saving, but it wasn't working, so I figured I'll just go for it. And I was going to be about a lap and a half short if we would have stayed green there, but I ran out of gas doing burnouts, so that's how close it was.
Yeah, well, you were able to do a very impressive job holding Ricky off on the high line there. Do you think, had you had enough fuel, do you think you could have held him off for much longer, or was he coming for you?
He was coming. I don't know where he could have got me to pass, because you can't really pass in the tunnel turn unless you got a good run out of one. And if I'm running the outside there, it's hard to get a run on the inside because it's very bumpy down there. So in turn 3, I was sort of hugging the bottom, so he couldn't get underneath me. So I was doing my best to take away his lanes of passing, and it seemed to work out good. I was crossing my fingers for that caution, though.
Yeah, now, one thing this is going to help you with, obviously, is the championship. It's going to help you solidify your position in the chase a bit easier, and also, if you make a chase, you're going to be given some bonus points. So certainly that's got to be a big win for you as well.
Yeah, definitely, because I'm also going to lose 15 for missing a race. But the win will definitely help in the points, and it all comes down to the chase. So it's all, can't wait for that.
Well, congratulations, Nick, and we wish you the best at next week in Michigan.
All right, thank you, Samuel. I just want to give a shout out to my little cousin Zach watching the race.
Well, thank you for watching, Zach. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Now we have got our 6th place finisher, Tim Johnson, in the interview room, so I'm going to hand it over to Richard Losper.
Yes, hi Tim. A tough race out there today.
Yeah, it was loose.
You were running well, sort of just off the leaders for most of the race, and then those cautions came out, and you were involved as well in one or two of them. So you managed to work your way back into 6th place. So not a bad finish for you. You are in the top 10 of this championship, and looks like you're looking good for the chase.
Yeah, I wasn't involved in any wrecks. I just was playing fuel strategy and didn't think there was going to be as many cautions, but there was.
So I'm always keen to know, whenever I speak to guys racing at Pocono, which is the toughest turn for you?
For me tonight, probably was turn 2. Getting off turn 2. It was way loose.
Really? I thought most people struggle with turn number 3 because of that really late apex that's needed to get a good exit out of it. So turn 2 was it for you? I believe, yeah.
Yeah, I love turn 3. I like how that's set up. I really like that. So turn 2 is where I struggle. I kind of slide up sometimes and miss my corner.
Okay, so a few more rounds left. 4 rounds left in this part of the championship. So we just completed round 11. 4 rounds to go. Have you got plans to run the rest of the 15 rounds?
Yeah, I plan to be here for them all and try to win a championship.
Alrighty, well, you are in third place going into this race. I don't think your chances will be hurt too much after this race. So a good finish there, Tim, and thank you for talking to us. Do you want to
problem.
give a shout out to anyone?
Yeah, congrats to my teammate Nick for winning the race today. Good job by him in his hometown.
Okay, so Nick's your teammate. Good. So you guys are both in the top 10 then today. Well, Samuel, that's about it for me. So back to you.
Yeah, Tim Johnson not involved in any cautions, but certainly came close a few times. We saw him sliding his tyres off a couple of turns, so he did a very solid job of bringing home a 6th place finish. Well, I think that was a pretty good race today. We had a big wreck, we had a late pass for the lead, had a late battle for the lead, lots of side-by-side racing, a bit of fuel strategy thrown in there as well. Just a shame it couldn't go green to the end, but then who knows who would have won. It doesn't seem like a couple of leaders didn't quite have enough fuel. Anyhow, we got some people we would like to thank for us being able to put on this stream today. We would like to thank Jim Foose and Mark Myers, the organisers of this league. We would also like to thank the makers of the various software and hardware that help make this stream possible: iRacing.com, XSplit, Audio Technica and Ava Media. Thanks to the team today, Kevin Brown and Richard Losper. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com, along with archived races and race highlights. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at facebook.com/globalsimracingchannel. A big thanks to Dougie Beard for creating the camera sets that you saw during the stream, and a special thanks to Eric Ekholm, who provides us with much of our music. You can find his music not only here on GSRC, but on TV commercials, movie trailers, iTunes and Spotify. If you like the music, tell Eric where you heard it at ericekholm.com. Our next race for the American Sim Racing Series will be round 12, held at Michigan Speedway next Wednesday at the same time at 9 PM Eastern Time on August 6th. This weekend upcoming, we have the iSuper Speedway Series back in action at Daytona International Speedway at 10 PM Eastern Time Friday. And the VSRA, they will be back in action for their new season at 9 PM Eastern Time this Sunday at Homestead Road Course B. Now, we also have other broadcasts coming up next weekend, not this upcoming weekend. The Continental Endurance Sports Car Series will be racing next Saturday at 6:30 PM Eastern Time at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And the Northwest Majors will be doing a Bristol Truck Series race on August 17th at 5:45 PM Pacific Time, so you're not going to want to miss that. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and I'll see you on the track.